Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here. Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, head coach Dan Quinn had his customary Wednesday press conference before practice, and he told the media that Jayden Daniels re-aggravated his elbow injury. Not a surprise. He didn't go back in the game on Sunday. DQ said after the game that Jayden could have gone back in, but he kept him out because the team was, quote, off, which they were. There's a question that he was asked today, and DQ was a little testy today. Like, not, so testy for DQ is a bit snippy, but it's never disrespectful, right? So with DQ, you got to really be paying attention to see that he's perturbed. He was perturbed today by some of the line of questioning. But this is what happens when you've lost 8 straight and you're getting your ass kicked. And now your starting quarterback is out and they're asking you a million questions about said quarterback that you really don't have the answers to. And you kind of want to run from reality, but you also have to live in it. And so Dan Quinn's kind of in a weird space. Part of that weird space revolves around Jayden Daniels and what to do with your starting quarterback down the stretch of this season. You can make a case for either side of the argument. We've done this before, but again, similar to the conversation we had yesterday that we had done before, it becomes more real now. Shutting down Jayden after the Seahawks game in week 9 with 8 weeks of football left wasn't truly realistic if he wasn't significantly injured, okay? It just was an emotional reaction. There's 8 games left, and you tell me he can miss the next 3 but be back after that. You bring him back, right? That's the rational, logical thing to do. He needs the reps. You fast forward to present day, however, and there are only 4 games left, one of which he's going to miss against the Giants. DQ told us that today. With the re-aggravation of the elbow injury comes a missed game in week 15 versus the New York Football Giants. So that means there's only 3 games left this season for Jayden Daniels to perform in, should he be healthy enough to do so. At this point, I feel like it is somewhat negligent if you were to put Jayden Daniels back on the field this season, okay? Here's why I say that. Now, again, I understand both arguments. I understand those of you who say Jayden needs the reps. He should play. Every opportunity he's out there, he's getting better. Air quotes. But he needs those reps. And I would agree with you if he were healthy. He needs reps. That game against Minnesota on Sunday, that's a necessary evil to get your ass kicked by a smart, witty defensive coordinator who can throw the kitchen sink at you, give you different looks you've never seen. You need that. Good reps, bad reps, you need all of them, but you need them at your best. You need them healthy. Here's why I don't think playing Jayden Daniels down the stretch is the best thing for Jayden Daniels. 1, Jayden Daniels isn't healthy. So when you're not healthy, and you can tell me, oh, Jayden's healthy, he can make all the throws, he can run, he can do all the things that he can normally do. Jayden Daniels couldn't even execute a stiff arm on Sunday without his arm bothering him. After the Jonathan Allen stiff arm that he executed, he started playing with his brace and he wasn't comfortable and he started shaking his arm. He wasn't 100% healthy. He was healthy enough to go out there and play, assuming that he wasn't going to hit the ground a ton, which he did. But if he can't go out there and stiff arm a defender like he normally would to escape, and he did escape Jonathan Allen on that particular play, but it came at a cost. It came at him having to expose his elbow to shock and extra contact that he shouldn't be exposing it to if he doesn't have to. These are things that you just don't want to expose him to if it is not necessary. He's not healthy. They can say that he's healthy. Technically, if this were a good football team and we are talking about a team chasing after a playoff berth, sure, you throw him out there. He's healthy enough to go. This is a lost season. You're 3-10. You've lost 8 in a row. What are we doing right now? Number one, he's not healthy. Number two, I don't want Jayden Daniels developing bad habits based off of adjusting to his new norm. He had a hamstring earlier. He had a knee. Now he's got an elbow. I don't want him adapting bad habits because he's adjusting and altering things that he does to compensate for said injuries, right? I don't want him thinking about said injuries, going out and having to do things to offset the fact that I got to worry about this left arm. Let me make sure that I don't do this or I don't do that. I don't want him out there having to worry about these things. I want my star quarterback to go out there and play the game he loves, loose, fast, and free. Uncluttered mind. Just go out there and be Jayden Daniels. That's all I want him to have to be able to do. I don't want him to have to worry about a knee brace, an elbow brace. I can't take a hit on this shoulder. Like, you know, you get a lot of dumb questions after an injury. Should he have been chasing down the interception? Of course he should have. He threw an interception. It's football. That's what quarterbacks do. You throw an interception, you try to get in the mix. Now, you might come to your senses when you see a 280-pound defensive lineman coming towards you. Yeah, you know what? Maybe he got shoved by a 185-pound corner. It's football. Shit happens. If you're on the field, which is my point, then anything can happen. You can't play in bubble wrap if you're on the field. That's number two. I don't want him developing bad habits because he's banged up, having to overcompensate for an injured elbow or this or that. Number three, I don't want Jayden Daniels to be out there not himself, pressing, trying to get this team a win, struggling without the proper practice reps. He was limited today, which is a sign that he's going to play once they deem him to be healthy. And I'm going to talk more about this here in a second. But he was limited today. He wasn't out of practice today. He wasn't a DNP. He was limited, which means he's still going through individual drills, but he's not doing team activities. He's not getting the necessary reps that he needs to be at his best when you finally do put him on the field. He's missing work with the team. And when he comes back next week and he takes the reps, that's cool. He would have taken 3 days worth of reps and a day or two worth of walkthroughs. That's fine, but that's not the full allotment of reps he needed to get this week. Remember, he didn't even practice in full last week. Remember, he was limited on Wednesday last week. He didn't get full clearance until Thursday. So he didn't have a full week of practice last week. He's not going to have a full week of practice this week. Who knows if he has a full week of practice next week? Yet they keep throwing him out there anyway. This is not what you should be doing with your franchise quarterback. Jayden Daniels is a creature of habit. He wants and needs reps to be effective. And this is the biggest one, number 4. You keep putting him out there. Oh, he needs reps. Oh, he needs reps. Oh, he needs reps. Oh, he needs reps. The oh, he needs reps camp. You keep putting him out there. All reps are not good reps. when you're not healthy. You know what those unhealthy reps ultimately do to a quarterback? It damages their confidence. I'm not watching the same Jayden Daniels play with the level of confidence that I watched last year or even this year. Circa week 1 against the Giants, circa week 5 against the Chargers, circa week 6 against the Bears. He's not the same guy right now. He's not. I can tell you why. I've just told you why. He's not getting the reps that he needs. He's not seeing the football field the way he needs to see the football field because he's not getting the reps. It's a catch-22, but I want him healthy. That's going to give us the chance to see the best version of Jayden Daniels. You're not going to see that guy this year. You're just not. This team isn't any good. This entire season is a mess. And Jayden Daniels right now is a mess because of what he's gone through this season. This his 4th injury, 3rd with a re-aggravation. He's only played in 7 games this season. Yeah, we get it. Sucks. Let's keep it there at 7. Let's not extend this thing out because God forbid something happened to him in week 16 or 17 or 18 and it lingers into the offseason. Now you're taking a perfectly good situation that can be look, this season's over. This season is done. It's lost. You can't get it back. But you can still salvage next year. You can be a good team next year and the year after that and the year. Why? Like you hear this all the time. Don't let one loss turn into 2. Don't let one lost season turn into a second. Just because you want to try and get Jayden Daniels on the field for meaningless games in December where he's not 100%, where he is compromised. What sense does that make? Because you want him to get reps? These reps aren't helping him. They're hurting him. Yes, he wants to play. Sometimes you got to save someone from themselves. This is where Dan Quinn's supposed to step in and say, hey, valiant effort this year. We love your fight. We love your competitive spirit. We know you want to get back out there, but this is about the long haul. We're playing the long game. We need you healthy for the offseason because you're going to come back stronger and better than ever next year, and we're going to kick ass, and we're going to get right back to where we were in your rookie season. But the fight's over this year. Get your body right. Get your mind right, and we're going to come back next year, and we're going to whoop some ass. That should be the message. But it's hard for that to be the message, and this was the thing that I said we were going to talk about later. Here it is. It's hard for that to be the message where you got DQ over here feeling like he's got to fight for his life. DQ is struggling, man. That man is struggling. You could see it at the press conference today. He's struggling. And look, 8 straight losses will do that to you. Having the longest losing streak in the NFL at 8 games this season will do that to you. Getting your brains bashed in to a 4-win team and getting shut out on the road will do that to you. So in his mind, who gives me the best chance to win? Marcus Mariota or Jayden Daniels? That's a no-brainer question. So in his mind, if I can get 5 healthy, I got to get 5 back on the field. I'm going to tell you that it's because of his development. He needs the reps. And while that may be true, as I've already laid out for you, that's true. He does need reps. He needs healthy reps. Not this bullshit that he's getting out here where he's barely practicing and being tossed into the fire, even though you tell us he had a great week of practice. Jayden Daniels right now is the most important commodity that this team has. You treat your most important commodity differently than you do all the rest of the commodities that you have. You can rush back Dorrance Armstrong, which leads to him tearing his ACL. Fine, whatever. You can rush Terry back. That leads to his quad being re-injured and re-aggravated against the Chiefs. Fine, whatever. You can't do that with your star quarterback. But because Dan Quinn is chasing a win, because Dan Quinn is chasing a job-saving win, in his mind, I don't think he's getting fired, regardless of whether he loses the final 4 games and ends up dropping 12 straight to end the season or not. Doesn't matter. He's going to be here next year. I could be wrong about that. You know, so many of you are convinced that Josh Harris and Magic Johnson aren't going for this. I doubt that. I don't think they're going to do anything here. DQ's safe. But in his mind, he's not safe. In his mind, I got to stop this slide. My guys in that locker room deserve a win. We need a win bad. 5 can get me a win. So I got to find a way to get 5 back on the field. He refuses to just say what needs to be said, which is, hey, we're going to go ahead, put Jayden Daniels on IR, ending his season, and we're going to get him ready for next year. He can't do that. He can't bring himself to do that. Instead, he hits us with a remix of what he said to us basically a little over a month ago, when he said, oh, well, we'll reevaluate him in a week. You know, no structural damage. No structural damage. Just some swelling. Well, if you've got swelling and you've got discomfort and you got all this shit that makes you rule him out for Sunday's game, what are we doing here, guy? Is it going to take structural damage for you to say enough's enough? Is that what we're doing now? Again, if this team were good, this is not a conversation we're having, because guys play injured all the time, right? We've talked about this. No one is healthy this time of the year. Everyone's dealing with something. Totally aware, right? This is a tough guy sport. Also aware, okay? There are other guys in the locker room dealing with ailments, but they're still giving it a go. And what does it look like if Jayden Daniels isn't willing to do the same thing? This is why you, as the head coach, take that option off the table. You are the one that says Jayden is not like everyone else. I decide who plays and who doesn't, and Jayden wants to play. I'm not allowing him to play. We're going to get him ready for next year. Marcus can handle the final 4 games of the season. That's TMI, right? That's too much information. He doesn't have to tell us or the media or anybody else that shit. That's internally what they should be throwing around. Hey, we need to shut Jayden down. This was the perfect opportunity for them to go ahead and say, you know what? No structural damage, but there's swelling, there's discomfort, and at this point, with 4 games left, we're just going to go ahead and put Jayden Daniels on IR. Get him healthy and get him back to where we need him to be so he can be ready for the offseason program so we can get ready for 2026. We're still going to compete in 2025, and we feel damn confident that Marcus Mariota can do that. And nobody else would have batted an eye. Yeah, there would have been some Jayden Daniels questions, you know, because now his season's effectively over. What do you think about his second year in the league? This, that, and the third. Yeah, there would have been all those questions. But then after today, you wouldn't have had to answer those questions anymore. Until the season was over, then they would have been asking you about Jayden. Where is he in his process? Is he doing this? Is he doing that? Instead, DQ, a man fighting for his life right now as a head coach. In his mind, reality is not perception, right? His perception is that he's fighting for his job. I got to win a game. The reality is he's not getting fired. But you can't tell a coach, hey, you're okay if you don't win a game in 3 months, over a 3-month span. Hey, don't worry about it. You didn't win a game the last 3 months of the season. You're fine. Don't worry about it. You can't tell a coach that. Because that's not true, okay? most of the time. The guy went to the NFC Championship game last year. You could tell, you could have all the reasons as to why 5 carried him to. Nobody cares. DQ was the head coach. He gets credit for that, right? It is what it is. He's not getting fired. But in his mind, he is. And because of that, he's not willing to do the thing that he should do at this point, to do the right thing, like Spike Lee, and put Jayden Daniels on IR and end the season. Jayden's probably going to play next week. Again, he was limited in practice today. DQ's talking that same shit that he was talking a couple weeks back of, oh, we'll reevaluate him next week. Every time they say that, that usually means he's about a week away. We'll see what happens. But I'm resolute in my stance. I waffled the last time, right? I waffled. I buckled under the pressure. And really, I was more so emotional after the Seahawks game than anything else. I don't want to see him anymore this season. This team is garbage. Put him away, right? I'm at the point now, though, with 4 games left, and really 3 because he's not playing on Sunday. With 3 games left, what are we doing? What are we doing? The risk isn't worth the reward to me. That juice isn't worth squeezing. What if he plays well in those 3 games? Great. Awesome. For some that need it, they've had their faith restored in 5. Awesome. I'm happy for you. But the alternative of what could happen on the other side is way more risky. Way more of an issue than the success of him playing well in the final 3 games of the season. The two aren't even close on that scale. It's like this. Hence, it's not worth it to me. But as I've already said to you, I don't see DQ making the right decision. He's really, outside of Sunday, when he didn't put him back in the game against Minnesota, he really hasn't made the right decision with Jayden here over the last, 2 months, roughly. Because I honestly don't think he should have played in the game on Sunday. Just knowing who the defensive coordinator was, knowing that Jayden was coming off of this injury, knowing the history of Brian Flores, you probably should have just waited for the Giants. I think that was the right move, to be honest. But he chose to put him out there against the Vikings, and Brian Flores embarrassed him. Embarrassed Cliff, embarrassed Jayden. He got banged up, and now here we are again. So, anyway, I digress. Let's move to in other news, where we heard from Dan Quinn, and I thought it was a really interesting press conference today. As I mentioned, I could sense a little bit of angst with Dan Quinn. He was a little bit annoyed today, and he knew what he was walking into. Like, even, I'm big on body language, mannerisms, tone, inflection of voice, all of that. I pay attention to everything. It's my psychology background. I can't help it, right? Even the way he left the press conference today. He usually thanks the media, tells them to have a great day, yada, yada. I'll see you guys on Friday, something of that effect, right? Always very cordial as he. That man jumped out of the seat, snatched the paper up, and walked off, ain't say shit. It's getting to him. It's getting to him. And the line of questioning today, it was pretty rough. I'm not gonna lie to you. He got hit with some shit. And some of them were dumb, bullshit ass questions, and I'll talk about those. But he was a little edgy today. 8 games in a row. It wears on you. It's kicking his ass. I'll tell you that much. But before we get to DQ today, let's get to the injury report for both teams. God, this is an awful game, isn't it? I mean, Jesus. This is the worst game of the season by far and away. This is a tough one, man. I thought the Dolphins one was rough over in Madrid, but at least it was in Madrid. At least it was prior to a bye. There are a lot of things that you were looking forward to with that game. There is nothing here other than please don't win. It'd be just like us to find a way to win this game. We're awful, though. We're awful. The Giants are awful, too, though. This is a bad, bad game. My goodness. Injury report for the good guys. Drake Jackson, man. I don't know. I'm struggling here, bro. You know, I need a win, right? As a fan, I need a win. Drake Jackson was supposed to be a chance at a win. I'm not talking about a literal win. Figuratively, I'm talking about I need a win, right? Ben Sinnott playing well. Drake Jackson showing out. Bill getting an opportunity and taking advantage. I need a win as a fan. I need a win. I just keep taking L's. Bill can't get on the field enough. Ben Sinnott is an imaginary human at this point. And Drake Jackson can't stay healthy for the love of God. Drake Jackson, groin knee out again today. We'll try again tomorrow. Jonathan Jones, rib, no practice. Von Miller, Laramie Tunzel, rest. Chris Rodriguez, groin. Is this what I have to do? Do I have to remove players via injury to see guys that are behind them that we think have more talent? Is that what we have to do? This is not the way to do it. Hopefully Chris Rodriguez's groin is fine because we need him. As much as I want to see Bill, we do need him. Bobby Wagner, knee, DMP, as we saw last week. He's going to play more likely than not, but you know, we'll see. I don't think he got any worse with the knee. I can't say that definitively, but knowing Bobby Wagner, he'll probably be out there. Jayden Daniels, we talked about this already, left elbow limited. That means he's going through individual drills. He's not doing team activities right now. So again, he's missing practice, basically. It's good that he's able to do the individual drills because his right arm is fine. He can throw the football. That's not the issue. Noah Brown, full. George Fant, full. So a very mild injury report considering the circumstances. This probably will look a lot different tomorrow. You'll remove the guys that were getting vet rest days, and I think you'll see some of the guys that have little tweaks, ailments, things of that nature. You see them be at least limited tomorrow, if not full participants. So this will look different. The one I'll be really paying attention to tomorrow is Drake Jackson. I got zero confidence that this guy's going to suit up for this team at some point this year. But I can only hope if they didn't think he had a shot to play at some point this season, they just would have let his 21-day window close. He would have been officially put on IR for the rest of the season. And none of us would have batted an eye. We just would have said, okay, we'll see what Drake Jackson has next year. They clearly think he's going to be ready at some point. It may not be this week either, though. Oh, my God. Let's go to the ops. So the Giants are coming off of a bye week, and this is a lot of DMPs for a team coming off of a bye. This is such a bad game. The Giants just fired their defensive line coach for arguing about his placement of his seat on a plane. I mean, this shit is, you can't make this shit up, bro. Unreal. I'm just like, wow. All right. So there's a bunch of names on this thing. None of them really difference making outside of Kayvon Thibodeau. For some reason, he plays well against us. But now that Charles Leno Jr. is gone, I think we've solved our Kayvon Thibodeau problem. So there's nothing really here that should get you perked up, right? Theo Johnson practice. I mean, and Tyrone Tracy practice. Those are the only two names up here that really move the needle, and they're going to both play. So Raheem Nunez Roches is a pretty solid defensive tackle, rotational. Same with DJ Davidson. I think both of those guys will end up playing in this game. Gunnar Olszewski is a really solid punt returner. He's got a concussion, probably won't play. I guess Jamie Gillian, their punter, having a left knee issue is notable, but again, at this point, not really that big of a deal, right? So let's get to what DQ had to say today. Again, I thought this was a really interesting press conference because DQ was, he was definitely perturbed today. So he started out the press conference with the elephant in the room, which was Jayden. He told us that he re-aggravated his elbow and that he would be out versus the Giants. That sent off a shitstorm of questions about Jayden, which he knew was coming, right? He was probably dreading this press conference because once he said that, it was going to take over basically the rest of the press conference. And for the most part, it did. So we'll go through a lot of what was said as we get to that point of the press conference. But then there are some really interesting questions. So one of the first questions he was asked that was non-Jayden related was about the 2024 draft class, specifically the day 2 picks. And, what you've seen from them, the growth from those players, what are you looking to see from them down the stretch? I thought it was a really good question, and DQ looked flabbergasted. So, he started talking in circles and, talking about young guys getting opportunities, and basically Johnny Newton his ass. You don't know where to put Mikey Sanders still on the field. You don't know how to use him. Ben Sinnott right now feels like you guys don't think he can play. We'll see. There's a Ben Sinnott question later on in the press conference that was interesting. But right now, it seems like you guys don't think he can play. Brandon Coleman can't get on the field other than as a extra offensive lineman. Luke McCaffrey's out. And if nothing else, he's proven to be solid on kickoff returns. If he can't prove to be a real threat as a receiver, at least he can run back kicks at a high enough level, right? But that's 5 picks that was supposed to be part of the foundation of what you were building. And really, we've gotten next to nothing out of that group, especially this year. Again, Mikey, everybody else feels like they're on strike 2. Coleman is strike 1 because he actually contributed at a high level in his rookie season. Same for Mikey. Everybody else is strike 2, basically. DQ really was like, I mean, what do you want me to say, right? What do you want me to do? That's a really big draft class. And if they don't pan out, Adam Peters is going to get DQ fired because he's not drafting good enough players. That's ultimately what's going to come of this. If you don't draft good players and you're not signing difference makers in free agency, your coach is going to get fired because the general manager usually doesn't get fired first. He survives. The coach gets fired. That's how that works. So Adam Peters has to draft better players. Now, DQ is a part of that evaluation process. He's also signing off on these players. It's not like Adam Peters is going rogue and picking these players and saying, you figure it out, Dan Quinn. They're a team. He talks about it all the time. They watch film together. They put guys on their commander tag board, right? This guy gets a commander tag. He was a 3-year captain. So DQ has to figure it out. He wanted these guys. That 2024 draft class, especially the day 2 picks right now, it's looking pretty rough, to say the least. He then was asked about the offensive line, and he was asked to give an assessment of them. And he basically said, a week ago this time, I was telling you how well they were playing, how it was their best game, and then, this week happened and shit, But and I said the exact same thing. Like last week, I said, if this group is going to play like this, look out. We have a chance at a top 5 offensive line. And then you fast forward a week and you're like, offensive line is going to be fine, but that was a rough go of it on Sunday. I still think that's going to be one of the stronger groups on this football team moving forward. They've invested the right amount of resources, right? Paid Tyler Biadasz money, drafted Sam Cosmi, extended him, traded for Laramie. They're going to pay him this offseason, and you drafted a first-round pick. They've invested enough resources into that offensive line for it to be one of the better groups on this team, and I think that's ultimately what's going to happen, but last week was a rough go of it. But now that you've got Cosmi back in the fold, and I think Chris Paul is solidifying himself as the left guard of the future. Again, he's a free agent this offseason. I assume that they're going to re-sign him, and it shouldn't take you a lot of money to do so. You have the makings of building a cohesive unit that could be really good. And DQ said he's really liked what he's seen from them in the run game. It's funny that he brings that up because when we need to run the football, we don't. We don't. You get down there, 2nd and goal from the 1, you throw it to your 3rd round, 2nd-year tackle who can't get on the field in an actual capacity. So you try to throw him a touchdown pass to make him relevant. Then on 3rd down, you run a cockamamie pass concept that makes your quarterback have to throw the ball out of the back of the end zone because no one's open. And then on 4th down, your quarterback throws a perfect strike to your free agent traded wide receiver, free agent or trade acquisition wide receiver, and he drops the football. But yet you talk about this offensive line and how impressed you are with their run blocking, but yet you get 1 yard away from the end zone and you choose not to run the football. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Anyway, I digress. His assessment of the offensive line is the same that I have, which is I think this is going to be one of the pillars of this football team moving forward. But they had a rough go of it last week. Then he was asked to give like a wide receiver assessment, and there's just been so much change at the receiver position. He's like, it's so good to have those guys back out there getting reps at practice every day now, but it's just been a struggle this season. But that's one of those position groups that you'll look at down the stretch of this season and see what they're able to do. I've already said, unless Debo is willing to take a reasonable, what I deem to be a reasonable deal, I'm not willing to go a cent over $16 million a year, whether that's 2 for 32 or 3 for 48. If he's willing to take something in that neighborhood or less, I'm interested. Anything above that, he can go. He can go. Anything that's going to push his contract into the 50s on a 3-year deal, he can go. He can go. He then was asked, so these next 2 questions were asked by the same individual. I don't know who he is, but I thought they were soft ass questions that someone who's either never played football or hasn't really participated in athletics before would ask. This is something that I feel like a female who doesn't watch sports would ask. Like, it's soft. Soft with a capital T at the end. When Jayden runs, have you talked to him about maybe sliding like a baseball slide instead of diving? Oh, man. What are we talking about right now? Has the man gotten hurt diving headfirst this season at all? What are we talking about? I've seen. I'm just gonna keep it a buck with you. And this is like when someone asks a question like this, I struggle with it because it's like you don't watch football. You're asking a question like someone who doesn't watch football, which is why I said what I just said. Because I've seen more quarterbacks in my lifetime. I can't speak for anybody else. I've seen more quarterbacks get injured sliding, baseball slide style, feet first, with a guy coming in and decapitating him and his head bouncing off the turf like CJ Stroud, who just was out a month because he tried to slide the right way and got his head taken off. I've seen more guys get laid out doing that than diving headfirst like Jayden does. Getting skinny, getting down. I've seen more guys get injured sliding that way than diving like Jayden does. So what the hell are you talking about, bro? What are we doing right now? Why is that even a question? Make it make sense for me. I haven't seen Jayden get hurt one time diving headfirst. Not once. I've seen him take a hit trying to fight for extra yards against the Giants in his rookie season. I saw him take a shot against the Buccaneers trying to fight for extra yards in his rookie season in his first game as a pro. When his helmet popped off, he popped right back up. If you're going to slide baseball style, feet first, you better do it way early. And Jayden's trying to extract every single yard he can get, which a lot of times we need every single yard. If you're going to slide baseball slide style, you better do it early before there's no defenders around. If that's your move, if you're Russell Wilson, and Russell's made a living out of that, he does it way early, then that's the perfect slide. You pop up, you slide, you pop up, you get back to the huddle. It's great, right? Colin Kaepernick used to do it. Another guy that played baseball. It's a great technique to use if you're going to do it well in advance of any contact. Jayden's always pushing it to the limit, and then he dives. I got no issues with it, but you can't push it to the limit and slide at the end, or you'll catch a Alex Smith, or you'll catch a CJ Stroud. Anyway, thought that was a B-word question. Same with this next one. Same guy. Jayden threw an interception. Should he be chasing down that guy that he threw the interception to? It's football, man. Like, instinctually, if I throw an interception as a quarterback, instinctually, my first instinct is to chase that guy. I may not catch him. I may not ultimately even decide to try and tackle him. My first instinct is to run and turn like, oh, shit. What did I just do? Let me see if I can go get in the way, slow him down at least. Maybe somebody catch him from behind. What I don't want my quarterback to do is just stand there with his hands on his head and let the guy run for a touchdown. That would piss me off, right? You stand there with your hand on your head when you throw an outbreaking route and it's inside, it's late, it's picked, and you know that guy's going down the sideline for a touchdown. You ain't catching him. Yeah, all right, shit. As soon as you let it go, you knew you made a mistake. Jayden was right there. The defender was right there. Of course he's going to turn and run and try and catch it. Football. Anyway, I digress. This, I thought, was an important question. I think David Aldridge asked DQ about Ben Sinnott. And he basically said, hey, now that Zach Ertz is out, does that mean that Ben Sinnott's going to get a real opportunity to show what he can do? And DQ was like, Ben has been putting in all the work. He's ready for the opportunity. And this is exactly going to be his chance. This is going to be his opportunity. I'm like, okay, shit. Talk that shit, DQ. Now, if he goes out there and he has one target, no catches, And it's the same old story. I'm going to say for the first time, Dan Quinn has lied to me. Because Dan Quinn today talked about Ben Sinnott like Ben about to get active on Sunday. Ben about to have 4 catches for 37 yards on Sunday on 5 targets. That's how he carried it. He also squeezed in Colson Yankoff in a question where ain't nobody asking about Colson Yankoff. We didn't ask you about Colson. Colson Yankoff wasn't a second-round pick. So you don't need to tell us about Colson Yankoff unless we ask you about Colson Yankoff. We asked you about Ben Sinnott. So don't talk to me about Colson Yankoff and his development unless you try and tell me something. We're gonna see who ends up with the most targets. Or do they just say, hey, John Bates, you up next, bro. You get all of the Ertz targets now. And whatever's left, you, Ben Sinnott, and Colson Yankoff, y'all can fight over the table scraps that's left. Which, as we saw when Ertz was in there, it won't no real table scraps left for nobody else. So if John Bates is taking over that role now, and to me, John Bates is all-time tight end, TE2, right? He's like the all-time QB you had back in the day. He don't move from TE2. He's your blocking tight end. He does all of the dirty work. He ain't supposed to move into the number 1 role. He just stay at 2. One of them dudes from behind him leapfrogs him as the number 1 pass catching option. And John Bates's role shouldn't change. That's how I view this. But I got a feeling. Ooh, that we're going to see Ben Sinnott in the same exact role we done seen him in for 2 years. I hope he proves me wrong. I'm looking forward to seeing number 82 get an opportunity. And it damn sure sounded like he was going to get that opportunity this week. That's what DQ made it seem like. All right, we're going to see. The next question was value in the reps that Jayden is missing. Value in the reps that he's missing. And DQ talked about the value, and he's been talking about the value in the reps. And I understand that concept. For those of you who are in the he should play crowd, he needs the reps. There is value in getting out on the field and seeing different looks that you've never seen before. I get it. It would have been nice for him to just be fully healthy and take his ass whooping like a man from Brian Flores on Sunday. And had he just had a disastrous game against a really good coordinator, he would have learned so much from that ass whooping. So if he plays the Vikings next year and he goes up against Flores again, he can say, I remember when he did this shit to me. Here's what I'm going to do the next time, right? That is ultimately why reps are important. Whether good or bad, in terms of the result, you need reps. If you're healthy. If you're not healthy and you're taking reps, there could be irreparable damage done, physically and psychologically, which is why I don't want him out there. I don't want him getting reps just for the sake of getting reps, which is what it feels like we're doing at this point. Hey, he just needs reps. Let's just get him out there. You get reps for Jackson Dart at the end of his rookie season after he hasn't played most of the year. That's when getting reps in the final 3-4 games of the season matters. Guy that's been on the bench the entire year. And not like Jackson Dart hasn't been playing here of late, because he's been playing. But I'm just saying, that's when, hey, man, every rep counts. He's a healthy guy. Put him out there, let him play. You damn right. Not a quarterback who's had 4 different ailments or 3 different ailments and a re-aggravation of one of them this season. That's not the guy you put out there at the end of the season because he needs reps. There's value in getting reps if you're healthy. Jayden Daniels is not healthy. And in a lost season, it doesn't make sense for you to put him out there because of what could happen in these last 3 games. But again, they don't hear me though. Then I thought this was a great question. I don't often agree with Scott Abraham. You know, he's what they used to call a tool growing up. He's a tool, or what people from the DMV call a Bama. But I thought he asked a hell of a question today. He said that we've heard the benefit of Jayden coming back and getting reps over and over again. But now with this latest re-aggravation and him being out this Sunday, is there a benefit to shutting him down for the season? I said, now you got my attention. See what he gonna say to this shit. This right up my alley right here. Now you got my attention. And DQ, in typical DQ fashion, I swear, I wanted to take the sharpest point of my elbow and elbow him on the top of his shiny ass dome piece. Bam! I love DQ. Don't take that one personal. But he hit me with that same okie doke, that same Euro step. Boy, he dodged the hell out of that. I was sitting there waiting for the charge. Oh yeah, he finna hit me. And he Euro stepped the hell out my ass. Bop, bop. Laid that bitch in the hoop. You mother. Of course, he Euro stepped me with the, well, you know what, Scott? That's a fair question. You know he about to give you some bullshit when he start off with, that's a fair question. You know what, Scott? That's a fair question. And, you know, we really haven't thought that far out, Scott. This is a guy that talks about having meetings with AP every day. They talk about everything. You really supposed to make me believe that y'all haven't discussed shutting Jayden down for the entire season. Yeah, right. We really haven't thought that far, Scott. He is being evaluated next week. He no structural damage. He was living on that no structural damage today. He hit that shit. He pressed that button about 10. He spammed that bitch about 10, 12 times today. No structural damage. He's fine. We'll reevaluate him, reassess his situation next week. We haven't thought that far out, Scott. That's the same shit he said after the elbow injury. When we said, hey, why not put him on IR? And we haven't thought that far out, man. Hey, we got the bye week coming. But you're talking about the bye week and all that shit, though. You still got Detroit, Miami, then the bye. You ain't thought that far out, but you're talking 3 weeks in advance. We still got 2 games, the bye week. We ain't thought that far out yet. Sure, you're right, DQ. DQ's a desperate man. Desperate times call for desperate measures. This man's desperate. This man's desperate. It's the same reason, and I'm not equating, I'm not saying that the situations are the same, because they're not. But it's the same reason Bad Dog said that the Giants had to fire Brian Daboll, because he was going to become a detriment to Jackson Dart. He was going to become a danger to him. Jackson Dart had a concussion. This man, Brian Daboll, went in the blue tent to go and get him, like a parent going and getting their child out of a situation, right? Give me my damn son. The hell wrong with y'all? Y'all ain't gonna have my son in this damn office talking that shit. Give me my son. Come on here, Clarence. Brian Daboll knew his job was on the line, and the only guy that could save it was Jackson Dart, and he was willing to put Jackson Dart in some compromising positions to try and save his own hide. Jackson Dart got hurt twice on Brian Daboll's watch, and Daboll both times was willing to put that man back in the game no matter what. I'm not saying that that's where Dan Quinn is, but it's a similar type situation. DQ thinks he's fighting for his job, so his mind isn't on next year. Yeah, let's just let Jayden rest and we'll bring him back next year. He's fighting for his job right now. There is no next year in his mind. I got 4 games left to try and win so that there's no conversation about potentially getting the axe after this shit is done. So instead of him saying, or internally, we've talked about it, but we also want to see where Jayden is before we just make the decision to shut him down. We think he could potentially get back on the field this season, and we want to see if he can or not. I would have much rather heard that and respected that than, oh, well, we just haven't thought that far ahead, Scott. It's a fair question, but, we're going to reassess him next week, and we just haven't thought that far ahead. Bullshit. Bullshiggity, okay? I'm calling bullshiggity here. There's definitely a benefit to shutting him down. They just don't. DQ can't admit that because he needs Jayden. In his mind, he needs Jayden to win. How do you avoid your team letting the rope go with 4 games left? You're the worst team in football right now because you've got the longest losing streak. No other team in the league, even though there are teams with worse records, no other team in the league has lost 5 games by 3 touchdowns or more this season. No one else has had an 8-game losing streak this season. You're the worst team in football right now. You just were shut out last week on the road to a 4-win team, now 5-win team. How do you convince your players to not start thinking about Cancun? DQ said that's the mission, is to keep these guys in the fight. He really didn't have an answer. This is when you just try to lean on the brotherhood, right? Hope that the brotherhood is strong enough to withstand the ass whoopings on a weekly basis. Of course, Von Miller is on radio programs every week talking about, I'd love to be back. Of course he would be. Who else is trying to give Von Miller a check for cleaning up sacks every week? Von Miller is no longer a commodity. If we don't re-sign Von Miller, maybe somebody gives him a chance. Remember, Von Miller wasn't signed until the summertime. It's not like Von Miller was on a roster. Von Miller is not a high-level commodity anymore. He's not a highly sought-after commodity. Of course, he's already politicking to be back next year. His career should be done. He's cooked. Outside of that, outside of guys politicking to be here for next year because they're trying to prolong their NFL career and continue to get a check, it's going to be tough to keep guys invested and motivated because we got a veteran-laden team. The young guys want to play. That's why you should be leaning into that. The young guys, they don't give a shit. They trying to prove that they belong in the NFL. If not here, somewhere else. You got a team full of vets. And they could be the same reason, right? Jonathan Jones wants to be able to prove to another team if he's not back here next year, he can still play. Same could be said for a guy like Eddie Goldman, who I want Eddie back here next year. But, guys still, some of these veterans do have something to prove. But it's tough, man. It's tough when you lose 31-0. It's hard to get dudes to buy in on, hey, we'll get them next week. Me and DQ talking about, I told him we had a 4-game NFC East tournament coming up. And the first of that tournament is on the road in the Meadowlands against the Giants. And I'm like, hey, that's what's up, DQ, man. That's what's up, bro. 4-game tournament in the NFC East, huh? Nice. Then he was asked about players seeing a team for the second time. This is the first time this season we've seen any of the NFC East teams for a second time. And he talked about the value in that. We talked about this last year with Jayden Daniels. In particular, Connerly was the target of this particular subject. And he wants to see growth from him. Obviously, week 1, the Giants were the opponent. Connerly, got roughed up a little bit by Brian Burns. Now he's had basically a full season under his belt. And DQ always says, that by the time you get to this point in the season, rookies are no longer rookies. So technically speaking, in DQ's mind, Josh Connolly Jr. is no longer a rookie. So now let's see the improvement. You'll be lined up against Brian Burns on Sunday, and if he blows past you a bunch of times again, then how much progress have we truly made? If you're able to stonewall him, and look, I expect Brian Burns to win a matchup or two. Like, he's Brian Burns. Josh Connolly Jr. is Josh Connolly Jr. But it shouldn't be, TKO, perfect, where he's just running circles around this man. So we'll see. I mean, that is something interesting to see if Josh Connolly Jr. can handle himself better in the second go-round versus the Giants. These last two questions were really interesting. So DQ was asked about the score and Jayden being out. So they were heckling him about Jayden, right? Again, this was to be the case. It should have been, because DQ set himself up for this by not being more definitive about Jayden and what his situation is moving forward. He also said Jayden could have gone back into the game. He probably shouldn't have said that, because you leave the door open for comments and questions like this. I told you Ben Standing's on a heater, right? Like, Ben Standing is asking questions like a man that don't want his press pass no more. Like, he ain't got shit to lose. Like, hey, they gonna take this bitch from me after the end of this season anyway. I'm going out in a blaze of glory. He asking all the questions that I would ask, or someone like myself would ask if we had a press pass, right? He ain't asking it like a member of the media that wants perks from the team. He asking that shit like a pure fan would ask, right? Shout out to Ben Standing. We don't always see eye to eye, but Ben on a heater right now. He asking all the good questions. So Ben, he asked DQ, and he pressed him too. he pressed him. He said, hey, you said Jayden could come back in the game on Sunday, right? And that had been like the third time DQ had to address that. DQ was like, yeah, like how a guy feels on Monday is a lot different than he feels on Sunday after an injury. Facts on top of facts on top of facts. Adrenaline's pumping, blood's flowing. You get injured and you feel good, you can go back in the game. You just like turning your ankle, right? If you've played any type of sports, you've jammed a finger, you've turned an ankle, you've done something that swelling is usually going to happen once the blood settles the next day. It's way worse than it was when it first occurred, right? This was very similar, that he had swelling and bruising, but he was fine when it first happened. He could have gone back in the game. It just was no reason to. So Ben was like, okay, so you said he could have gone back in the game. So at 17-0 in the third quarter of a game, that ain't normally a game in which you in the NFL that you punting on. So why you ain't put him back in the game if you was just down? Now, he first asked him, after he asked him about Jayden being okay to go back in the game, he said, did you? Because Ben hit him with the okie doke, right? And you can see it coming. And DQ just, I don't know how he whiffed on this. I think his pride got in the way. He said, Ben Standing asked him, did the incident in Seattle where you put him back, left him out in the game too long and he got injured, did that have any bearing on you keeping Jayden out of the game on Sunday? And instead of DQ saying, yeah, that played a little bit of a part. Like, he could have easily said, wow, that wasn't the only reason. It did play a little bit of a part in my mind. In the back of my mind, I was like, this game's going nowhere. We're off, which he had already said, we're off. I just didn't feel like it was worth it. It was necessary. And that would have been it. And Ben would have shut him down, right? But nope, DQ pride got in the way. Nah, that ain't had nothing to do with it. Okay, since you say that, Ben Standing was like, okay. I threw him the fastball. He was looking off speed. I got him. He don't know what's coming now. He said, okay, so in a 17-0 game in the third quarter, that's not an insurmountable deficit in the NFL. That's a game that's still in the balance. You down 3 scores, but that's a Minnesota Vikings team that's 4-9. That's not a game that you can't recover in. So why you ain't put him back in the game? You punting on 17-0 games now? That's what we doing? And you could tell DQ got hot. He was like, this son of a bitch here. we punting on 17-0 games in the third quarter. That's what we doing. And DQ was like, and it's the same thing he said when we played the Packers, right? It's the same thing he said that the Packers this year in week 2. And the same thing he said in the loss to Tampa in week 1 last year. We were down in those games, but the score wasn't representative of how bad it felt like we were down. So he basically told Ben, yeah, it was 17-0, but it didn't feel like 17-0. It felt worse than that. But Ben had a point. I mean, it's just 17-0, bro. We see 17 points. I don't want to say all the time erased in NFL games, but we see teams climb back into ball games down 17 points all the time. Like, that's not a insurmountable deficit. But it just speaks to DQ's loss right now, bro. He don't really know what the hell going on. He can't even navigate these press conferences the way that he could earlier in the season. He's struggling, bro. He's struggling. Lastly, he was asked about turnovers and why they not getting them, basically. And this was our girl, Candy Waller, asking him this. And he got a little snarky with, and it wasn't like disrespectful or anything. Candy had suggested that this team didn't produce turnovers last year at a high enough clip. And DQ's like, hold on. We were in the plus last year. And I'm like, DQ, we were in the plus by 1 last year. We had 17 takeaways and 16 giveaways, bro. Stop. Okay, we're not doing that, DQ. We were asked at creating turnovers last year too. So Kenny was like, okay, all right, fine. You were in the plus. This year, you ain't nowhere near the damn plus. Your ass ain't turning the ball over, taking it away at all. So what's going on with the turnover margin and the tackling margin? So DQ was like, look, we switched to zone thinking that we were going to be able to produce more opportunities at football. When you're in zone, you can see the quarterback, you can see ball carriers coming, and it allows you to position yourself to try to make something happen. Force the ball out, punch it out, see the quarterback, key his eyes, jump a route, etc. When he said that, I thought to myself, a lot of y'all don't watch other teams. So this may not resonate for y'all. But for those of you who do watch other games that just enjoy football in general, the Chargers game on Monday night, Eagles and Chargers. The Chargers play a hell of a lot of zone. Does our zone coverage look anything like that? That last interception is a great example of zone coverage being played at an extremely high level. That's either a touchdown or out at the 2-yard line, and you're getting this tush push, and the Eagles are going to win the game. That's what's going to happen if that pass is completed. Instead, you get a zone dropping defender, right? A corner sagging off underneath the route, getting his hand on the football, a safety trailing on the play. These are two players converging in zone coverage. We never get two players converging on the football in zone coverage. We got guys running wide ass open in our zones, always. If somebody tips a football, it ain't never another commander waiting for the carom, right? Ever. Hell, we don't even tip footballs. What am I saying? Yet we got Cam Hart diving, tipping a football, safety, dead in the impact, and then corralling it and getting the game-clinching interception. How about this? Earlier in the game, again, zone coverage. They run a faux blitz, right? Meaning it's not really a blitz, but it acts as one. They rushed 4 guys, but it felt like they rushed more than 4 because of how they blitzed them, right? So how they rushed them. So they had 4 guys on the line and 1 come off the slot, right? The slot player comes, but the defensive tackle drops out. So you overload a side with 3 rushers against 2 blockers, drop out the defensive tackle. That free hitter comes. It feels like a blitz, but it's really not. Jalen Hurts panics because he's got an unblocked defender screaming off the edge, and he throws the ball right to a zone-dropping defensive tackle. Our shit don't look like that. Our shit don't look like that. Never has, never does, probably never will until we get better players. It won't this year, that's for damn sure. So when he says we went to zone thinking that we could produce more opportunities, I'm just saying to myself, DQ, what would make you think that our defense is capable of producing more turnovers? He brought up the Bobby Wagner interception against Denver, and I'm like, he said, and that allowed, he was in zone coverage, and then that allowed Bobby to jump the right. Bobby ain't jump a mother effing thing. Bo Nix threw the ball right to him. Bobby ain't have to move. What do you mean Bobby jumped the route? We don't get turnovers because we're not aggressive. We don't attack the football. We don't have dogs. We've had these conversations before. Creating turnovers is a mindset. A lot of times, it's innate. Either you about that turnover creating life or you not. Mikey Sainristil. I know we talk, not we, I know y'all talk a lot of shit about Mikey. And Mikey hasn't been good this season. And I told y'all before the season started, I'm a little concerned about Mikey going to the slot because Mikey wasn't good in the slot last year before he went outside. I told y'all that. But I said, because we're going to be so good outside, I think Mikey's going to have a chance to flourish inside. That was my thought process. Whether it was flawed or not, that was my thought process. We're going to be so good inside that Mikey's going to have a chance to be really good inside. Mikey hasn't been good this season. But the one thing you can't say about Mikey is he's not around the football and he doesn't create turnovers because he's one of those guys that looks for the football. He makes plays on the football. Could he make more plays? Sure. Thought he could have had a pick against Dallas earlier this season. Should have had a pick against the Dolphins, right? But he still leads our team in interceptions this year. He's the only guy that can pick a football off for us. He was the one that forced the fumble and recovered it against Tennessee last year. He's the only guy with real ball skills on this defense. We need more guys like Mikey Sainristil in that regard. We don't have any. He's the only one. We don't create turnovers because we don't have guys that look to punch the football out. Like there's certain guys in the league where they just have this knack and the timing of knowing, okay, that ball's not secure. This guy's going down and he's inches from the ground and I'm going to punch this bitch out right now. And they don't miss. Fred Warner don't miss when he do that shit. Foye Oluokong, he don't miss when he punched that bitch. It's certain dudes that just get it. We got guys like Deron Payne that'll come from behind, and it's the sloppiest punch you've ever seen. He hitting dudes' arms. He hitting air. He punching dudes in the shoulder. It's these weak-ass, whack-ass attempts at the football. At least he trying, but the shit ain't going to ever actually hit because we don't have guys that are actually adept at punching the ball out. So, like, DQ can't fix that. The only way you can fix it is by getting guys that can actually get the ball. That's how you fix it. It ain't no amount of drills. How many times did Joe Witt Jr. say, yeah, we switched up the drills. We switched up the drills. Yeah, we did another drill. We did a different ball drill. That shit don't matter. DeRon Bland is the drill. Charles Woodson is the drill. These are the guys that he coached in the past that took it away. Guys that hunt the football. That's the drill. It ain't no amount of drills that you're going to do that's going to make either you got a peanut punch or you don't, bro. Or you don't. The only way you're going to force a fumble here in Washington right now is you got to catch somebody slipping. And it be on accident. A helmet on the ball, you hit a guy's arm and it just happened to push his arm down and the ball squirts out. We don't force fumbles on purpose. We force them on accident. Russell Wilson fumbled earlier in week 1 of the season. That was just a hit by Quan, and it jarred the ball loose. It wasn't Quan coming in with a stiff punch. We don't have guys that attack the football. And you can't teach a guy to attack the football. Either he wants to do that, either that's innate, that's what he is looking to do, or it ain't. Our guys just want to make the tackle. They want to make the tackle. Other teams, you watch the Lions game against Dallas on Thursday. Jack Campbell, look, Jake Ferguson was going down, bro. It was 3rd down and 17. Jake Ferguson caught a 6-yard pass. They got him short of the sticks. Cowboys got a punt. He didn't have to try and force a fumble. You know what our guys would have done? Oh, I'm going to jump on Ferguson and make sure he's down for 7 yards. Now it's 4th and 10. And they would have got up, put their little stinking ass fist up in there. 4th down. Yeah. Yeah. Nah, Jack Campbell came over there and said, hey, this little weak ass 7-yard game, and you fighting? You still fighting? Bow! Give me that bitch then. You don't want it. You fighting? Let me make sure the fight's over right now. I'm going to take the rock from you and get this great field position. Our guys don't think like that. Bobby Wagner would have just jumped on top of him. Jordan McGee would have jumped on top of him. One of our defensive linemen would have jumped on top of him to make sure he was down and then put up the fist, right? That's why we don't create turnovers. It's up here. Anyway, that was DQ's press conference today. As you can see, I quite enjoyed it, and I also am very annoyed by it. Anyway, I digress. Let's get a word from one of our sponsors. We'll come back on the other side, and then we'll take our first look at the New York Football Giants.
Sleeper. Sleeper is the best way to experience and connect over sports together. It's a one-stop shop for all of your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat in the games in real time with other users, get the fastest scores, blazing fast news and alerts right at your fingertips. Play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. So enjoy sports the way they were meant to, together. Download the #1 sports app today. Predict the hottest football stats like passing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and much more to cash in on your daily fantasy football skills. Use promo code LTN and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Sleeper.
All right, so Giants, MetLife Stadium, Week 15, 2-11 versus 3-10. If this wasn't my job and I wasn't a fiend, if I didn't have this shit injected into my veins, I wouldn't be watching this shit on Sunday. This is one of the best weeks of football from a slate standpoint. Do you understand how many good games are taking place? And this is the shit that I'll be watching on Sunday. I'll have other games on. But, you know, I can't help it. My attention will really be here on this stupid-ass game. So many good games at 4 o'clock. I'll be talking to you guys about this bullshit, you know? This is, when you get to this point of the season of a lost season, these are the ones that just suck. Like next week against the Eagles, that'll have some juice to it. It's the Eagles. They're playing for something. You feel like you got a chance to be a spoiler. It'll have a little bit of juice. The Cowboys game on Christmas. It's the Cowboys. They're fighting for a playoff spot that they won't get, but it'll have a little bit of juice. And it's always fun to try to beat that. There's no fun in beating the Giants. There's no fun in this. I don't want to win this game. The only way I wanted to win this game is if Jayden was playing. I don't give a shit if Jackson Dart beats us. I don't give two shits, to be honest with you. Too many times we get to the end of the season, Giants fans don't want to win, Commanders fans don't want to win. I'm sick of this shit. I really am. Shout out to my guy, Greg Giants. He was on the stream the other day, dropped the 50 spot just to say, hey, I need y'all to take care of business on Sunday. He came in here, dropped the 50 spot just to say, hey, I need y'all to bless us on Sunday. Don't do this same 2023 bullshit. Don't do the 2019 bullshit y'all did. We need y'all to lose. We need the number one pick. And we got the same exact energy for them. How you playing a football game and don't neither one of the fan bases want to win? It's always the Giants. It ain't never the Cowboys. It ain't never the Eagles. It's always us and them. End of the season, bullshit ass game, and the loser is going to end up with a top 3 pick. It always happens this way. In 19, the loser was us in a 41-35 game in Daniel Jones's rookie season. We ended up with the number 2 pick. In 2023, the loser was going to end up with a top 3 pick. We were the loser. Tommy DeVito came in, blessed us. Sam Howell had the interception at the end of the game to seal it. They beat us, I think it was 29-19, 31-19 or some shit like that. Simmons had the Isaiah Simmons had the pick 6 at the end. Tommy DeVito had 3 touchdown passes. We ended up with the 2nd pick in the draft. It's the same thing. Same thing. I'm sick of this shit. I really am. So the Giants are terrible. So are we. The Giants have been way more competitive than we have over the last 2.5 months. Really, since Jackson Dart was inserted into the lineup. They've been so much more competitive than we have. That same Lions team that cooked us, that we didn't force a single punt, the Giants should have won that game easily. If their dumb coach would have just kicked the field goal, they would have beaten the Lions. A team that we couldn't even stop. Once. Not once. This will be an interesting game from this standpoint. You got young players for the Commanders that will have an opportunity to get their shit off. Get your shit off. This is like, seriously, if Chris Rodriguez with the groin can't go, and I don't think C-Rod's banged up. I think he'll be out there. But this should be like, I really would like Bills. Up until the Chargers game, Bill's biggest game was against these Giants. I would love Bill to get 13 carries in this game. What he could do with 13 against this nasty Giants run defense. This could be the Bill confidence builder that I need, that he needs. I just need to see it. I know it's there, man. Ben Sinnott can get his shit off against this weak-ass Giants defense. Terry and Traylon Burks, they could get their shit off. It would be nice to see some young guys shine. That's one of the few things that I'll be looking for in this game. It's really not much. It's really not much. So, I mean, It's week 15 and neither fan base wants to win. That's the state of this game, Giants Commanders. Each is fighting for position, trying to find a way to get the number one pick in the draft. The Giants currently have it. They don't have to do anything else, just lose. That's it. But we've seen that the Giants don't even know how to do that correctly. Last year, they had the number one pick and they beat the Indianapolis Colts in like week 15. Week 16, I think it was. Scored 42. Put up a 40 burger in the process. They don't know how to do this. We know how to do this. They don't know how to do this. So I think they come off this bye week. They got Jackson Dart. He's ready to get active. He's going to bless this defense. You know it. I know it. The Giants should beat us. The Giants should beat us. Only way that they don't is if they self-implode. They take care of the football, which I have no doubts that they'll be able to do. We played the two most turnover. We played the two teams that have coughed up the football the most this season. In the Raiders and the Vikings, and we didn't produce a single turnover in either of those games. I have no reason to believe that we're going to force any turnovers against the Giants. Not a reason to believe. Not a single one. So as long as they don't do that, and they don't have a bunch of dumb penalties that kill drives, why can't Jackson Dart look like J.J. McCarthy did last week, but even better? There's no reason why he can't. No reason why he shouldn't. So we'll see what happens. Let's get to the comment section, and then we'll get out of here. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Lou, video channel. I believe Josh and Magic made the call through AP. And I don't think, I feel like fans want to believe Josh and Magic Johnson are more heavily involved than they are. They're visible. They're visible. But Josh Harris, I've watched several Josh Harris interviews. I've listened to the man speak on several occasions. He's talked about his ownership style. This is not the first time he's owned a team. He talked about his ownership style. He isn't one to meddle. He wants to be brought up to speed on what's going on. They're talking to Josh Harris probably on a daily basis, if not a daily basis, definitely a weekly basis. But he's not telling them what to do. He just wants insight as to what's going on. Why did you do that? What was your rationale? Because he's a why guy, like me. I just want to know why you're doing the things that you're doing so I can tell you if I agree with it or not. I'm not going to tell you how to do your job. That's why I hired you. Now, if you don't do your job well enough, I'll have to hire someone else to do it. But he's not a meddlesome owner. So I don't think he's involved. And Magic Johnson didn't play football. He played basketball. Like when Magic posts on social media, it's usually Captain Obvious shit. Shout out to our guy, Captain Obvious. Usually, my Commanders only scored 7 points today. We got to play better. Thanks, Magic. Appreciate it. What a win for my Washington Commanders. We scored 31 points today. Thanks, Magic. Great job. Thanks for the post. Like, Magic don't know what the hell. Magic just know if we won or we lost. And he can speak to a winning culture. That's the value that he brings, but they're not making no calls. Mask Pro. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mask Pro writes, hey, Louie. What's up, Mask Pro? Long-time lurker here. He says, hey, welcome to the light, man. I've been in the shadows before. Welcome to the light, my friend. Just defending AP on the JJ talk. If AP valued JJ like JD, I feel he'd have traded back to 6 with the Giants. Much love. So we did hear that there were only 2 quarterbacks that Adam Peters was interested in. Again, I don't know how true this is, but I feel like it's true. But I haven't done enough because it doesn't matter at this point. The only thing that is relevant from that information, if it is true, is that he didn't see fit to do any kind of real study on Drake May. And he thought that JJ McCarthy was better. Remember, you got to put on your 2024 draft cap. A lot of people forget. We heard that during the draft. If you could go back to that time, we heard that the Commanders were interested in JJ McCarthy, and all of us bucked off like he better not do that bullshit. You really want to piss us off just getting here. Go ahead and draft JJ McCarthy when it's all these talented passers. Go ahead and do that bullshit. Even if he would have traded back, JJ McCarthy was not the right pick. He is of these quarterbacks, he's going to be the worst of that group. Michael Penix Jr. will be better. Bo Nix is already better. Drake May, Jayden Daniels, and Caleb Williams are all better. He'll be the worst of this group. So had he traded back, that would have been cool. The Giants would have probably come up and gotten Jayden Daniels or whomever, right? You would have ended up with a nice haul, but you would have still not had the most important position on the field solved. So all of that would have been for naught. So he probably would have traded back if he wasn't interested in Jayden Daniels. Clearly, he wasn't interested in Drake May, which is crazy to me. And that's why I say there's not a lot of value in that statement other than what were you thinking? Why'd you go with that bar? What made you go with that bar? Interesting choice. What made you go with that bar? A lot of Bears fans came down hard on their GM for not doing any homework on any of the other quarterbacks other than Caleb Williams. They had the number 1 pick in the draft. What he needed to do homework on anybody else for? He had already determined that Caleb Williams was his guy. I get it. Our guy wasn't in that position. He should have been doing homework on every single one of these dudes. To say that, oh, I would have only chose one of this dude or that dude, and the other dude wasn't anywhere near as talented as Drake May is crazy to me. But it is what it is. Like, we got Jayden Daniels, so I'm not going to harp on it too much. Rosario Satara Polsky, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Russ, writes, Louie, great update. My book on Play Store called From YouTube to Fake Tube is my first book to get over 10 book reviews. Bravo, man. Bravo. I'm so happy for you, bro. Let me give you a standing round of applause. I'm so happy for you, bro. And I told you, I watched all of your YouTube videos too, man. I'm proud of you. And again, that don't mean anything, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I've seen the growth. And I know it's not easy. And I can really appreciate and applaud the way you grind, bro. Shout out to you, man. Over 100 5-star reviews so far. So happy. Can the Kings release hoodies and sweaters? It's cold. We working on it, man. We working on it, man. I'm so happy, man. So proud of what you've accomplished, bro. Really am, man. We working on it. You've been asking us too. You've been on us about that. We working on it, man. Rosario Satara Polsky. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, would love to wear Commanders King sweaters and hoodies and my winter hats on my walks. Yeah, we working on that. We working on a bunch of things. We gonna get our act together, man. We gonna get our act together. I promise. I promise. Club 100 TV. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. People want DQ fired, but not ready for what that will do to the team. I'm sure this will look different next year. Yeah, you know, look, fan is short for fanatics, right? Fans are reactionary. They're very emotional. And when you're emotional, you don't make sound decisions, right? It's why people with money often have stake in businesses, in industries that conjure raw emotion. Case in point, if you're a bigwig, you probably have one of the two, if not both, on your portfolio, right? Either you're in the funeral industry or you're in the marriage industry. Because either way, you're getting an emotional purchase. You're getting an emotional person. Oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes reacting off impulse. Someone dies, a loved one passes, you've got a lot of decisions to make. You got to put this person in the ground. It usually happens so fast, 7-10 day period. That person at the funeral home is telling you, oh man, so sorry for your loss. You really want your loved one to be in the best coffin. The person's dead. They don't care if they're in a pine box. If you burn them, they're gone. Their soul lives on, but their physical body is done. But they're going to tell you, you need this extravagant coffin that you will never see again in life. And people go for that. Same thing with getting married. You get in there and you're all excited. I'm going to do this. I'm going to marry this person. And they start telling you, this is a beautiful, that was funny when I bought my wife's ring. I showed them like 3 different rings. Right. And then I purposefully, because I'm an asshole, I purposefully showed them the ugliest ring they had in the whole store. So it was 4 rings total, 3 that I actually thought, like, I'm choosing from these 3, and then just an ugly ass ring. And every ring that I showed her, oh, that is so beautiful. Oh my God, I love that ring. Of course you do. Especially if that one costs more than the last one that I just showed you. So again, I only bring that up because I always try to infuse some real life shit for y'all. I only bring it up to tell you that fans are emotional. And when you're emotional, you fly off the handle. Fire everyone. Sick of this shit. Get rid of everybody. This will look totally different next year. And if it doesn't, then you can start really saying, fire this guy. Then you can say, we should have fired him last year. Fine. But give him a chance when everybody on the roster isn't injured and impaired. Got to at least give him a fair shot. He might not be the answer. And all of you who are saying, fire DQ, he's not the right man, he's too nice, he's this, he's that, you might be right. You might be right. But it's too soon to tell. Not after the man just took you to the NFC Championship game last year. And I don't give a shit that it was Jayden Daniels doing. It's still, DQ was still the head coach, bro. So, this will look very different next year. Mask Pro, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes,
Ben S1 for me. Cliff Kingsbury hates playing young guys. Bill, I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong. Like, I don't know if he hates playing young players, but I think he trusts veterans more. I think we've seen that over the 2 years with Cliff. Is he doesn't mind a young guy on the offensive line, but when it comes to the skill position players and being where he needs you to be, he much prefer a veteran out there than a young guy. I think we saw that with Joe Witt Jr. as well. Coaches love guys that they can trust. It's hard to trust young players. It's easy to trust a veteran. Christopher McLaughlin, my guy. C-Mac, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Chris, writes, hey, Lou. What's up, Chris? Hope all is well with you and the family. Likewise. Happy holidays. Same to you. Question. Should we finish the season 3-14 or 4-13? What are the top 3 questions and positions that need to be addressed this offseason and why? I don't think it matters whether it's 3-14 or 4-13. The only thing that matters there is where you draft, right? The difference between a 3-win team and a 4-win team could be the second pick in the draft, the first pick in the draft, although I don't think a 3-win team is going to end up with. Someone's going to win 2 games this year. Someone's going to win 2 games this year. It's either the Raiders or the Giants or the Titans. Someone's going to win 2 games. But it could be the difference between a 3-win season and a 4-win season is the 3rd pick, 4th pick in the draft, somewhere in there, or the 9th pick in the draft. Like you could fall all the way to 9th, messing around and winning a 4th game. So there's a big difference between the two. But ultimately, the questions about this roster and this team and all, they still remain the same whether you win 3 games or 4. So the biggest question on everybody's mind is Jayden Daniels. Can we get him back to where he was as a rookie? Because that's what's going to give us a chance to win every football game. And for me, that question isn't as prevalent. I have no doubts in my mind a healthy Jayden Daniels is a dangerous Jayden Daniels. I saw it in week 5. I saw it in week 6. I've seen flashes, right? In the Dallas game, I saw flashes. The only game I didn't see my guy was the Seattle game. I never saw my guy in that game. He just was out of it in that game. He was running, but I never saw my guy in that game. I even saw flashes on that first drive against Minnesota. I got no doubts. For me, the bigger questions are, can we have the type of offseason that will allow you to bounce back and build this roster correctly? I think Adam Peters last year, again, a wise man told me that success is a distraction from the process. And we got distracted last year. And Adam Peters got distracted. And we all loved the distraction. None of us, in hindsight, some of you might try to act like you weren't all for the distraction. We all wanted the distraction of that success and everything that came with it. Loved the Debo trade. Loved going after Laramie Tunzel. Still don't regret that, by the way. Loved giving up those picks in that moment for Marshawn Lattimore, chasing after that chip in 2024. But it was a distraction. You're not distracted anymore. There is no success. You're back to square one, just like when you took over the team and inherited a, 4-13 team? 3-14, whatever the hell we were when they came here in 2024. You're back to square one. So there's no distraction now. Now build this thing the right way. Figure it out. Can we trust him to do that? That's the biggest question for me. Because it don't really matter what AP's doing or what Dan Quinn's doing or his staff is. If they don't have talented football players, none of that shit matters. None of that shit matters.
we clearly don't feel like we have elite coaches. And that's okay. You get good enough players, you don't have to have elite coaches. What you have to have if you don't have elite players is elite coaches. I think this year proved that we don't have elite coaches. You get better players, and these coaches are fine. They showed that last year. You get good enough players, they can get the job done. So Adam Peters, get better players. That's the biggest question for me this offseason. Next question is Dan Quinn going to be the defensive coordinator? He's not getting fired. So then you have to ask a real question, which is, are you calling the defensive plays or are you going to hire somebody else to do it? Okay. Who are you hiring if you are? And if you ain't, are you ready for all that comes with being the defensive play caller and the head coach at the same time? I don't have an issue either way. If he decides to be the defensive coordinator, I'm cool with it. He has a proven track record in this league of being a defensive coordinator that gets results, contrary to popular belief. So if he remains the defensive coordinator, I'm cool with it. If he decides to hire a defensive coordinator, let it be somebody young and innovative, not another one of these old curmudgeons that you knew from back in the day. But again, we'll see. I think I'm more afraid of him not hiring someone young, and hence I just rather him just be the defensive coordinator than him go get an old, retread that ain't about shit that's gonna piss me off. So I think that's kind of where I'm at, and I kind of think that's where he's leaning anyway. So we'll see. But that's number 2, and then number 3, I think. I think the third question would be, what are you going to do at the receiver position? I think that's a really big question. Do you bring Debo back? Do you go out and go get Brandon Ayuk if he's released, right? Do you go in free agency and go get a guy? Like, you clearly have to upgrade that position. That position cannot come into next year looking the way that it looked this year. Noah Brown can't be back here. I don't care how much Cliff loves him, how much of a competitor he can't be back here. We can't ride the Noah Brown roller coaster again. That has to be done, right? I've already taught Debo. He's fine by me coming back as the third option here and for the right price. But you still got to go get a number 2 receiver. What does that look like? Is that a rookie? Is that a veteran? But something has to be done at the receiver position. Probably need to do both, honestly. So that's the third question for me right now. Obviously, there could be bigger questions. You need another corner, right? There's other things that you need. We need everything just about, feels like. But receiver, like, we got to surround Jayden with talent. Got to. Christopher McLaughlin, thank you for the blessing, man. Gifted 5 new memberships. All 5 of y'all stand up. You are the newest member, courtesy of our guy, Christopher McLaughlin. Welcome to the squad. And thank Christopher McLaughlin for blessing you and allowing y'all to become the newest members of the MOBB. Big shout out to our guy, C-Mac. Thank you so much for your unwavering generosity. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Who writes, nasty work. Only one game with a running back over 100 yards rushing. That had to be Bill against the Chargers, is my guess. No running back with more than 14 carries in a game all season. Bring me your boy, J Love. I would love it. I think he is dynamic. I don't think he's quite Jahmyr Gibbs, but I think he's got the ability to do some special things like Gibbs can. Jayden Daniels Jeremiah Love backfield would feed countries, not families, entire countries, states, maybe even states, maybe not countries, states. It'd feed the entire DMV for sure. I don't think we're in a position to do that, though. With all the needs that this team has, to me, drafting a running back in the first round is a cosmetic pick, right? It's one that is a luxury pick. It's cosmetic. You can do it if you're in a position to do so. You got like the Lions didn't draft Jahmyr Gibbs before they drafted Penei Sewell, before they drafted Aiden Hutchinson. Like, they drafted the trenches first. They got their team together first. They did the important things first. Then they doubled back and got the running back. So I can't see a scenario where you need everything and you decide to take a running back. That, to me, isn't the best usage of that selection. But I'm all about blue chip players getting guys that are elite. And if all of the defensive elite stuff is gone and, you know, this is the best player on the board and you can't get out of the pick, Jeremiah Love it is. Sign me up. But with where we're heading, there should be something elite on the board that we should be able to get our hands on. Running back doesn't feel like a position that we have to go hard at. If you're going to do something at running back, I'd rather just spend the money on a free agent running back if they were to come available. Breece Hall, K9, like, spend the money. Spend the money. If you want to go a little cheaper, maybe not as dynamic, but you want a two-headed monster and you don't want to bring back C-Rod, go get Tyler Algier. He's a better version of C-Rod. Go get Tyler Algier, pair him up with Bill, and have a 1-2 punch right there. But I think you could use your pick better than Jeremiah Love. And I've also subscribed to this theory from Daniel Jeremiah a couple of years ago. This year really is when it started to really fester, where he basically said, if you're going to draft a first-round running back, you need to be ready to maximize every single touch that first-round running back is going to have. The Raiders, he thought, they were making a mistake by drafting Ashton Jeanty because they weren't ready to maximize every single touch of Ashton Jeanty. We've seen that this season. They're not ready. The Lions, however, when they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, were ready for Jahmyr Gibbs. They were ready to maximize every single touch of Jahmyr Gibbs. Which is why he's turned into one of the best backs in football. Are we ready to maximize every touch of Jeremiah Love? Maybe on offense. Clearly not on defense. But I don't know. It's a question that I don't think it's a cut and dry. No, don't draft Jeremiah Love. But to your point, we haven't had a running back over 14 carries in a game. Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? Is that the running back's fault? I don't think so. I don't think so. PXPX2. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Lou, why does this have to happen to us? It's a question that I've asked several times over the years. It's a question that I literally asked, I think it was Sunday. I said, why? What did we do? I know why this is happening to us this year. I know why. We did this to ourselves. Maybe it's for the greater good. You know, we wanted it, but at what cost? Clearly, this was the cost. But I'm hoping that this is a 1-year penalty for what we did, and then we can move on. And in my mind, to make me feel better, that's how I've gone about this. It's a 1-year penalty for what we did. Stelios 300 Cowboys 5. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, no super friends tonight? Clearly, no super friends tonight. I keep it a buck with you. Like, there's really been no contact. Like, when teams are struggling, dudes don't reach out. And I already told everybody, like, this year, I'm not. Last year, I was the one initiating these shows. I was chasing behind people trying to get them to do shows. And I said, I'm not doing that this year. That shit was exhausting last year. I tell them what my availability is. Either I could get with it. Bad Dog got the Lakers, so he busy. Like, everybody's got a busy schedule. We know Law is, he's a superstar. You know what I mean? Like, everybody got shit going on. So it's hard to get everybody on one accord. And I ain't chasing nobody down, man. That ain't where I'm at with mine no more. So it sucks that we can't be more consistent because that's what people want. But it is what it is. It is what it is, unfortunately. CGM87. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, hope your day is better than Sharon Moore's. I don't know what Sharon Moore's day has gone like, but I've had a splendid day. I got no complaints. So I doubt that his day was better than mine. But what is he? He should be recruiting right now, right? Isn't that what he should be? He didn't get fired, right? I don't be keeping up with college football all that much. So Caitlin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Caitlin writes, hey, Lou. What's up, Caitlin? I'm concerned that our coaching staff can't develop players. Literally, no one from the 2024 class improved in their sophomore season. That's a fair criticism. It's hard for players to develop when they're not getting opportunities. Johnny Newton plays the least amount of snaps of any of our rotational defensive linemen. Ben Sinnott plays the least amount of snaps, or very close to the least amount of snaps. Like, for instance, last game, Colson Yankov had 12 snaps. Ben Sinnott had 13. Like, that's an undrafted and a second-round pick basically playing the same amount of snaps in a game that you lost your number one tight end in. So, Brandon Coleman had one snap, and that was him as a pass catcher on the field. Like, you can't get better if you're not on the field. And again, maybe they're just not good. Maybe you drafted the wrong guys. That's more of an indictment on the GM than it is the coaching staff. You can't give me a rotten lemonade and say, hey, man, I need the most thirst quenching, delicious lemonade you've ever made in your life. And I'm going to give you rotten tomatoes and oranges. Make me some lemonade. Wait, what? You heard me. Again, at some point, you stop blaming the staff and you start looking at the source. And again, this is a big offseason for Adam Peters, because what the staff is effectively telling you is that the guys you drafted, the guys you selected, aren't any good. They can't even get on the field. Don't hide behind, oh, well, Zach Ertz is a future Hall of Fame type tight end. Don't hide behind that. Don't hide behind Johnny Newton's doing everything we're asking him to do. Oh, yeah? Then if he is, then why is he only playing 15 snaps? Same for Ben Sinnott. Brandon Coleman can't even get on the field, bro. A 7th round pick from the last regime is currently beating this man out at left guard. At some point, Dominique Hampton's not even here. It took Jordan McGee till literally the midpoint of this season to start getting meaningful snaps. At some point, we got to stop looking at the staff and start asking, Are these players any good? And if that's the question, then you need to be looking at a different person and not the coaching staff. So, again, oh, he got arrested for something. I see y'all talking about Sharon Moore. I don't know. That's crazy. So I'm not sure that I'm willing to put this on the coaching staff yet. I'm not sure that that's what I'm willing to do yet, Caitlin. But you have every right to be concerned about this coaching staff. Every right. The Original Dream. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. The Original Dream writes, at least you were right about Shamar Stewart. Look, you can see players like that coming a mile away, but here's the thing about Shamar Stewart. He never had a chance to be successful. It was similar to the Terry situation here. Terry holding out set up a situation where Terry was never going to have the type of season we needed him to have. Shamar Stewart having the type of offseason and not signing his contract until right before the season started and not getting any rest. He was never going to have a successful season. He set himself up. The Bengals set themselves up. That situation was set up for failure. So while I'm not a Shamar Stewart fan, I don't think he's a first-round talent or he's a first-round player. He's got first-round talent. I don't think he's a first-round production guy. Last year is a wash, or this season is a wash. It's hard to evaluate him based off of the offseason that was. Hopefully he's healthy this offseason. He has a real full offseason of work. He gets in the, the offseason program and gets on the field in the summer, and he's a different guy. But I wouldn't be shocked if he's not any good. There's certain guys that you look at and go, he's not going to be a great pro. Like Tack McKinley. You can just see he's not going to be a difference-making pro, right? The Michigan, not Michigan, what was the dude named? Yeah, well, Taco Charlton out of Michigan. You just could see that's a wasted first-round pick. Same could be said for Charles Harris out of Missouri when the Dolphins took him in the first round. Like, these are guys, like, you can see it. Like, this guy isn't going to be a good NFL. It's not going to be a first-round pick. You can see it. So, we'll see what happens with Shamar Stewart. But in any event, that is going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Commanders Nightly News. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys next time. The Commanders Kings are supposed to be riding tomorrow night during Thursday Night Football. We'll see, because we were supposed to do it last week and we didn't do it last week. So we'll see if it happens this week. But we are supposed to be live tomorrow night. In any event, whether you check into that show, it doesn't happen, I'll still be here for Commanders Nightly News tomorrow, and I will be here after Falcons Bucks Thursday Night Football. So you will see me tomorrow. In any event, that is going to do it for me, your man Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys next time. Until then, I'm your man Louie T, signing off. You guys have a great night. God bless. Peace.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap. Hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20.